Hello everyone, X-Walk Kill Bethelite here. And you guys wanted to hear, at least some of you, about what it was like for me dating after leaving an extremely strict religious cult. And you know, some people say, well, hey, you never really get into your personal things, so let's get into it. Keep in mind, this is from years back. I mean, I've been doing videos for about 6 years or so, 5, something like that. So it's been a while since I've been out. But we'll get into what it was like, because it's tough for Jehovah's Witness member to leave that strict cult. That alone is tough, let alone what faces that person once they exit. Well, now you need to learn how to date, because there were rules to dating inside Jehovah's Witnesses that we had to, or were supposed to, follow. Once you step outside of that, people aren't playing along those rules anymore. So you have to adapt to a different dating dynamic. And I remember meeting somebody at work, and I know what you're going to say. Well, that's your first mistake. But, you know, listen to what I have to say here. I worked for a company that had multiple facilities. There are multiple facilities, and you could work for the same company as someone else and not see them every day. You may not see them at all as far as work is concerned, because they work in a different building 20 minutes away from you. And that was the case for me. I met somebody who the only reason they were in my building was because they were helping out with overtime. We had people missing, people were out. We were asking for help, and then people came from other facilities sometimes. So I'd never seen her before. And my personality has always been somewhat open. Matter of fact, just yesterday, I was at Walmart and I had a whole conversation with a guy who was in line. And you know, talking about Trump and everything else. And then as I'm walking to my car with my groceries, I had a whole conversation with somebody random in the parking lot, walking the same direction as me, about the weather. You know, they're all right now in Texas, you know, they got scarves, hats, and everything. And I was telling, hey, to me, this is cool. This is cool, comfortable weather that feels good. So I've always had that personality. Keep that in mind, because I'm at work and I'm going around just talking to people. And I went to go visit a room to go, you know, visit people. And that's where this woman was helping out at. And I'm in the room joking, laughing, talking to people. And she just joins in the conversation and jokes along with me also. And that first impression is the reason why I ended up speaking to her more later. The first impression she gave, and this happens to me a lot when I'm dating, is it's the personality. It's typically 100% of the time a personality, and rarely is it looks. It's typically always a person's personality. And she seemed really friendly, like me, and she seemed to have a sense of humor, where she'd laugh about something that was funny. And what ended up happening is I left the room with a good first impression of her, and throughout the day, as I was working, if we were going past each other, she would joke with me, laugh, I would joke back. And what ends up happening is, and it's raining outside, so you can probably see it's raining outside. You may hear a little bit of that. What ended up happening is, well, I decided to talk to her. And we're at work, so there wasn't really an appropriate time for me to speak to her at length until we were in the cafeteria. Once we're in the cafeteria and we had time to just sit and talk, that's when I came up and approached her. So I talked to her and found out that she was very religious. And I mean, think about it. I'm a former JW. I'm a very open person. I think I have a good sense of humor. And my first impressions of her was she was also friendly. She also had a sense of humor. And when I talked to her further, religion was huge with her. Huge. So this is connecting the dots. Everything I know about her so far, we have in common. So I end up asking for her phone number. She gave it to me. I'm not going to lie. I was a little bit nervous coming out of an extreme cult. We would not do that. We wouldn't just go up to women and ask for their phone number. So the conversation went so well, I noticed a few things that we had in common right off the bat. So I decided, let me get your phone number and we'll talk more because it's too busy. She has to, after today, I don't know if she's ever going to be back in that building. So I went ahead and asked for a phone number, wrote it down, and that's how we initially met. And disclaimer, this is important for me to bring up because this has got a lot to do with, you know, if I do a whole series, everybody else that I dated. It's typically personality. This particular woman was, she had a Puerto Rican background. She was of Puerto Rican descent. And as far as attractiveness, you know, from 1 to 10, she's probably a 10. Like, basically, just think about the whole Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, you know, body type thing, except for she didn't have surgery or nothing. But think of that, you know, hourglass type. Basically, she was extremely physically attractive. But for me, that had nothing to do with the reason I asked for her phone number. I see people who are attractive on a regular basis, and that's never the reason why we get to the point that I asked for a phone number. It's always because I noticed we have things in common, and I think this may lead to something special. I always want something special. I always want that relationship. People want to know why I don't have kids. I could have easily had kids by now. The reason I don't have kids is I'm not just going to sleep with people. You can meet somebody in a bar, get drunk, go have sex with them. For me, my goal has always been the relationship. Just sleeping with people that have nothing in common with me would not make sense for me because that does not help me achieve my goal, which is something special that leads to a great relationship. The whole relationship is what I want. So when I spoke to this woman, yes, she was extremely attractive. But of all the women that worked for that facility, the reason I spoke to her was not her looks. It was not. It was her personality. It was, she was friendly like me, sense of humor like me, and that religious mind state where everything out of her mouth, because I came from a strict religious background, I could relate to. She brings up a scripture, bam, I finish it for her. So everything was in common up to a point. We'll get to more of that. So we end up, I call her And that whole conversation was about biblical things. And whereas that might run some guys away because everything out of her mouth was something biblical, for me and my mindset and where I was able to, we just end up, if you want to talk about biblical stuff, we just gonna have a 3-hour long conversation then. And what I should have done, my mistake there, was to not assume, because I'm coming from a strict religious background. My assumption is that she's talking biblical topics 24/7. Well, then that means her life must reflect a JW's life, where you typically would have a woman that was single be single. That's my impression. So I never asked too much about how many kids do you have? Do you have a baby daddy? How close are you to the baby daddy? That topic didn't come up with me. The reason why is because I just assumed her mindset was that where she would already have those things where they should be in her life. So we end up going out and dating, and I knew that she liked coffee, so I took her to Starbucks. And this is years back, so I may not remember every detail. I knew she liked coffee. She talked about that a lot. So I took her to Starbucks. I remember taking her to Texas Roadhouse, which is one of my favorite restaurants. I always get the bone-in ribeye. Everything is good. So I took her there because she said she'd never been, and I wanted her to experience that. And then after that, I think we went someplace else. Like, for me, I planned out. I probably went too all out. You know what I mean? When you first start dating somebody, you probably don't take them to 3-4 different places. But I ended up planning a lot of different things. So we went a lot of different places. And I remember having a conversation with her when I was getting ready to leave. So I'm getting ready to leave, take her back home, and she's talking about her, babies, her children's father, so to speak. And she's sharing information with me about that, telling me something to the effect that he's over there a lot. And my mindset at that point was, well, we're just starting to date. This is not really my business as far as, you and your children's father is concerned. We're just starting. But she's sharing this information that, well, I probably should not have him over here as much as he is. And she goes in and starts telling me a little bit more about his situation, where I don't think he had a place to live at the time. So he would literally stay over there. And I'm taken aback because I'm coming from a strict religious cult. Wait a minute. Okay, you have children. That to me was never a red flag for somebody to have children. The children's father and you are not married, and he kind of like stays there. So I get in this car, and it's like Twilight Zone as I'm going back home. I'm just trying to comprehend this. If he's living there, why aren't y'all married? Like, I just can't comprehend this situation here. The relationship between her and her children's father apparently wasn't working. Okay, why is he living there? And it's like, okay, well, he doesn't have a home or what have you, doesn't have a place. This is blowing my mind. So we continue to talk over the phone. We continue to date. I end up coming over there, and I came over to watch movies. So I bring some movies over. I even bring a DVD player because I don't think there was a DVD player there. And we watch movies. And at some point I meet two of her daughters. She had two daughters. One of them was really young, and one of them I think was like a teenager. And typically they would be in their rooms or something like that. And so we're watching the movie, and I remember the movie's over. Everything coming out of this woman's mouth is religious. And I had the background of religious too. So my mindset is, let's observe each other and see if this can possibly work. I don't think she had that mindset, because after the movies were over and we finished eating and everything else, I'm getting ready to leave. And then we'll I'll call you when I get back. She got mad, and I mean big mad. Why don't you just leave then? You don't want to be here anyway. Like, going off mad. And I'm just like, you know what I mean? What's happening? What's going on? And I couldn't figure out why she was mad, because she would go from 0 to 100. It wasn't no explanation. It wasn't no, this is her expectation type stuff. It was just that no explanation, no anything, just bam, she's going off. So I end up, and this is a reoccurring theme here. So I end up grabbing because I couldn't figure out what she wanted, and she wasn't going to explain it. She was just going off. So okay, I get in the car, and again I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. Talking to this woman, bring over some movies. We sit, we relax, we watch movies. She invites me over her house, stuff like that. Keep in mind, I'm leaving out details because I just can't remember everything. But eventually she ends up going off, and we didn't do anything sexual. We didn't do anything sexual. In my mind, she don't want me to. In my mind, me not doing anything like that is showing her that I have self-control and that I'm husband material. Waiting for her to be ready, in my mind, is showing maturity. I don't think she saw it that way. And I don't know to this day exactly why she was going off, but I think that might be the reason why. She may have expected us to just go from that to having sex. And I would have never guessed that. Coming out of that cult, it's super strict. You don't have sex until you marry somebody. That's the religion I was raised in. And then dating somebody that never talks about nothing but church, I'm assuming that's her expectation also. So I'm showing restraint. Keep in mind. Think about Puerto Rican background. Think about very sexually attractive. Think about very sexually attractive. Again, I've done the whole hourglass thing. So here's the thing. I'm recording this on the phone. If I were to do to show her body type, the phone ain't big enough. The phone's not big enough because it goes down and then it goes, wow. I mean, I took her to meet my uncle, and my uncle, when it was just me and him and she wasn't there, said, she's thick. She met my uncle, and my uncle's like, she is thick. Like, so she looked great. Like, she was, I mean, it's I know very few people who are that blessed physically. But I was showing restraint to prove that I can control myself and I know how to conduct myself, so you don't have to worry about dating someone who doesn't have self-control. I thought that was a good thing. She went off. So I get back in my car. I'm driving back home, and I'm in Twilight Zone. I don't understand what's going on. Okay, let's fast forward. I am leaving work, and typically I would leave work and she'd call me and it's, hey, what are you doing? Come over. What are you doing? Come over. What are you doing? Come over. It got to a point where I hadn't been in my own apartment in so long because she would want me to come over her house every time. I hadn't been to my own apartment in so long. It felt like I was in a brand new apartment when I would go. I would go and check the mail. I open the mailbox and mail is just falling out of the mailbox. I ended up going to her church with her, all things that from a Jehovah's Witness standpoint shows you are serious. You're going to her church. I remember she wanted to go somewhere and do something. There was some church event and it was pretty far out and she wanted to go and enjoy that. And I watched her two daughters. She had two daughters that were in her house still, and she had two sons that were older. So altogether she had 4 kids. I think by 2 different guys. So I offered to watch her kids while she goes and enjoys whatever it is that she wanted to enjoy. And again, I'm thinking this is showing maturity, showing I can get along with the kids. So I went, and this is kind of funny, I went to go get movies that I thought the kids would like. These are movies that I liked growing up, so they were a little bit dated, but I'm thinking they haven't seen any of these, and these are masterpieces. So I go and I show them The Labyrinth, and I'm showing them all kinds of other stuff that I like, and they're sitting on this couch like, when is this over? When is this going to be over? Actually, the younger daughter was watching it. The older one, she's a teenager, so she's in her room doing her thing. She's like, when is this going to be over? And I'm like, you don't like this? So eventually I turn that off. She puts in what she likes, the new stuff, and we sit down and watch that and make sure the kids are fed, make sure, everything was cleaned up. This is what happens. So she comes back and it's late. I'd been watching the kids for forever. She comes back from her outing, comes in, and the heater / air conditioner had gone off. I went back to see if I could turn it on, and it wasn't a turn on or off problem. Something was wrong with it. So I'm just sitting down. She gets back. Her daughter is about ready to fall asleep. And I'm thinking that's a good thing. Everything's great. She's going to be happy. No, she comes in the house and goes off. 0 to 100. She goes off, and I'm just sitting here like, and the reason she's going off is because the air conditioner / heater wasn't working. And she figured I was supposed to just fix it. And I'm thinking, I have no background in HVAC. I don't know how to fix this. I tried turning it off and turning it back on. I tried the basic things, and it's just not working. So I'm thinking, you're going to have to call somebody to come fix this tomorrow because it's late. She wasn't feeling it. She felt, and she at least explained a little bit this time. She felt that because I did not fix or figure out a way to fix this air conditioning unit, that I didn't care about it. And I'm thinking, why do you think I've been here with your kids all day? I have no kids. I don't have kids. I can be out doing anything. Why do you think I have been in this house watching cartoons all day with your kids if I didn't care about you? Like, she went off because everything I did, nothing I did communicated, I care about you. I'm serious about this. And the things that in her mind communicated, I care about you, I'm serious about this, made no sense. How is I going to get her air conditioning unit fixed at 10 o'clock at night? How am I going to get this fixed? I don't know how I was supposed to get this fixed. So I'm in Twilight Zone because the stuff that she wanted seemed impossible. And let's just fast forward to this is ongoing. Her going off and me not knowing why or anything. So she communicates that, hey, I think we have different love languages. I think she's right. Okay, let's fast forward. The baby daddy thing is ongoing. The baby daddy thing is he comes to get his daughter and take his daughter to school, I think, every day. And I thought that was great. I'm like, wow, this is great. Matter of fact, I think he's a great dad. Like, I think that's great. The problem was he'd come over way before it was time for his daughter's asleep and he's over. And I think the reason he's over is to see the girl I'm dating before she goes to work. So he comes over to see her pretty much every morning. And some days it was like I'm in the house with her and he's in the house and I'm sitting next to, it got to the point where I'm sitting next to him, her children's father. And we're both watching stuff on TV. I know the guy. He was over there so much. That was a problem. And fast forward to, I want to have a family picnic, or you know, she all her kids, all grill. We'll have food. We'll have fun. I found a park that was, to me, great. We could go on trails. We could eat. We can do all the whole full. Well, we get there and her son is older. He didn't live with her. He's older. Her son is arguing with the younger daughter, and I think he hit the younger daughter, and the younger daughter's crying. And at some point, the younger daughter wanted her father, and so now they're calling the baby's father to come to the picnic. And I'm like, here, hand me the phone. I'll give him directions. And the drive back, the son is going off. This is a reoccurring theme of this is just normal to them. The son is going off to the point where he's like, while we're driving, he's like, open the door. I'm getting out. He had no car. We were nowhere near where he lived. He's like, open the door and let me out. The mom's not just going to open the door and let her son out in the middle of nowhere. So he says, I'm going to open this door and jump out while the car is moving. While we're driving, he opens the sliding door and is about to jump out the car onto the street while it's moving. And we're like, you got to shut the door. We're about to get pulled over by the cops. This is the level of drama that I was dealing with right after coming out of the religion of Jehovah's Witnesses. So long story short, the drama got to me so much that eventually I just went back to my apartment and she calls me, where are you? I'm at my apartment. What's wrong with me going to my own apartment? I'm just sitting down, relaxing. I just want not to have drama for a moment. And she goes off because I went to my own apartment and I'm sitting there and I couldn't deal with it no more. So that was pretty much the end of it. At that point, I could not go back. I was emotionally scarred by all the stuff that was going on. At that point, I couldn't go back. I let whatever stuff that I left over there got left over there. I couldn't go back. I could not go back. I told her I couldn't deal with this. This is not leading to a relationship. I can't live. She wants me over her house. I can't live over there. I got my own apartment and I can't live over there with her children's father. You know what I mean? Like, I tried everything. I even talked to him and was like, well, hey, I know some places that aren't very expensive. We had that. I think I tried everything to try to make that work. And she's a nice person. She really was religious. But, and this is what Jehovah's Witnesses don't always understand. Being religious isn't everything. You got to make sure y'all's temperament is the same. Hers was 0 to 100. Mine is, it takes a while for me to get mad. It took a while for me to finally say, this is enough. I can't deal with this anymore. She gets 0 to 100. I'm 0, 1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. It takes me a while to get mad, but once I'm mad, I'm mad. So that was pretty much the end of that. You know, there was no way that was going to lead to a full relationship or marriage. And that's the reason why I didn't end up having kids with her. I'm not saying we didn't do anything, but I'm saying that one of the reasons I don't have kids is once I see this is not going anywhere, this makes no logical sense at all, I don't then go and have kids with the person knowing it's not going to work. Or at least I'm careful, and I've been fortunate thus far. I'm very careful about that. So you guys comment down below. That's the first story. Nice person. We're not enemies or nothing. Like, you know what I mean? Nice person. But her temperament, she went off too much. She went off. There was never going to be a regular conversation. It was always going to be 0 to 100. She's going off. And I don't even know what's going on. I remember I even would buy groceries. I was over her house so much, I bought groceries to bring over and would cook and everything. And in her mind, none of that communicated, I care about you, I'm serious about this. So I think she felt she needed to still have her child's father around all the time. And what communicated, I care about you, to her with stuff like getting her AC unit fixed at 10 o'clock at night was stuff that was impossible for me to do. It was impossible for me to show her I cared by following her parameters of what that is. And I definitely wasn't about to have a whole bunch of kids. And then she just would have had who knows how many. So, yeah, I think I avoided, dodged a bullet there. And we'll talk more. 937-789-4029. Dating stories coming out of Jehovah's Witnesses. Ex-Wallkill Bethelite signing out.